Good afternoon. Welcome to Options Tender. It is Wednesday, January 3rd, 2024. Welcome, everybody. If you're new here, go down to that bottom right-hand corner, hit that Options Tender logo, and subscribe. We're going to go through SPY and QQQ and the VIX. We're also going to check out why we actually went long today. We still have our short swings dated out in later dated options, but we short term grab some calls in a couple indices and individual names. So make sure you stick around for that, and don't forget to like the video. It helps us so much, tremendously. This channel is growing so fast, and it's all because of you guys, and I really appreciate it. So let's dive into it, see what we could do. We're going to check out things on the daily time frame and go down intraday to show you how I look at things. So what we have here on SPY, we have our daily time frame. We're looking at, let me pull back here. We're looking at this chop zone. We got back into this chop zone, and technically we're really right at this support here, but with the current price action, we have a box that we drew out here. So I extended that box out, and we're right at the bottom of that range where we're getting some support here. Can price come down a little bit? We do have FOMC minutes here coming up at about 2 p.m. It's coming up at 2 p.m. So if price action dives down a little bit lower, I still think that's a buy opportunity until we start breaking down from this range, and then we have something else going on. But you see this range, I do think this is a possible head and shoulder play. So if we get a nice deep retracement, it doesn't have to go all the way back up here around that 475 area. We'll keep that in mind. 474, 475 zone for right shoulder. That would be a bearish pattern. If you're not familiar with a head and shoulder pattern, you form a left shoulder. That's the neckline. Retrace back to the neckline. Form the head. Come back to the neckline, and then we form a right shoulder. And what we do is we actually have a continuation. You can use just a regular line, a trend line, or you can use the extension tool. If you use the extension tool, we're looking for that neckline area. We'll put it at about 469, just around there. And what we're looking for is that 100%. I'm just going sideways, so I extend the lines out. Well, what we're looking at is a measured move of approximately the 460 zone, which is right here where you see a lot of these support once resistance zones. So that's that 100%, and I'm going to take that off and leave that for my Elliott wave. But that would be, you measure the neckline to the top of the head, and the breakdown point would be the neckline. So 100% of this move should come down to about that 460 zone. Okay, so that's where we would be looking for, and it just happens to coincide where that consolidation starts. So that's where we would expect to bounce, move down, and maybe take off a little bit of our puts. Or at least start to extend them to, roll them out to later dates, perhaps. Whatever strategy that you use. So, okay, enough time on this one. QQQ. On the daily time frame, you have this huge consolidation area. We broke above it, made all-time highs, almost tagged the top of that trend line. You can, if you don't use shadows, maybe we did. The whole point is we're back, straight down, back into the top of that zone. So we're clearly going to get a reaction. And so that's why I think we're going to form some sort of head and shoulder here. Now, the neckline isn't straight across, okay? So the neckline's going to be drawn a little bit more like this, because the Qs are actually leading the way. So we should get a bounce, probably not as high as this shoulder. It could be. And we'll look for retracements at about the 405, 406 area, perhaps to reject off of the gap, or maybe even slightly fill the gap area. It's still valid if we go all the way up and fill the gap. Well, that right shoulder is going to look a lot bigger, and but that's how it works. You have the head and shoulder. It doesn't have to be straight across. It can be kind of awkward as well. The IWM is slightly more like SPY, even though it came down a little bit lower than this low. And so we have that confirmation that we're going to go lower, but I think we're going to get a bounce first. So we'll be watching those retracements. Let's go ahead and go down to the lower time frame so we can kind of see what I've been looking at. We're going on to 65, and remember, trend is our friend. I just said that in the trading room, the Discord that we're in, and I want to really emphasize it this year. So yes, we use the other moving averages as well, but right now we're in a short-term downtrend. We're underneath that 8 EMA, and we're going to try to retest the 8. Even if we poke above it, there's resistance, and even if we get above it, we just want to see if we hold above the 8 EMA. That's the point. We don't want to get too aggressive getting back to the 8. We could be just back testing the 8 EMA. That's our trend indicator. So once we have our bounce, remember this technically is not on the lower time frame. It's a downtrend. We have lower highs and lower lows, but on the daily time frame, we only have a low so far. So really, technically, I can give you two situations where we form a right shoulder and we make a lower high, and then after we break underneath this low, that's a confirmation we have market structure of a lower high and lower lows on the daily time frame, and then we should really start trending underneath this 8 EMA. And then the more bullish scenario, I think is a lot less likely. I think our top is good. I think our top's in. Would be to actually, because we didn't make that new low there, and maybe we don't make new highs on the Qs or the small caps. Maybe we make a new one last high, 3 drives to a high on SPY, and where we eke out just a new high here. The other indices probably don't, because they broke that low and break down. But notice just this bottom of this range coincides with that 20 moving average, so we're getting a reaction off the 20, which is, that's just what happens. We get reactions off of these moving averages, and when we get all the way down to if and when we get all the way down to this 50-day moving average, we're going to have a reaction off of that too. And keep that in mind, because we had a reaction off of the 50 on NVIDIA today, so that's why we took a long trade there. And we're making this nice doji here. If we end the day with this type of doji, or maybe just a little bit more, that's a reversal setup to the upside, and then we're looking for maybe a day or possibly 2 of a bounce. I wouldn't stretch it out more than a day, but let's see here. 65-minute. On this 65-minute, we identified in the Discord, we were showing that we had a bullish falling wedge, and that wedge, we're looking to break out of it. It does appear that we have our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave move down. That's an impulse move, and so that's why I think that we get a bounce to the 50, 60, 2% retracement, and even can all the way go all the way up to the 786 retracement as well. So you have to track that, and we'll go to the Elliott wave picture in just a second. But this is actually a bullish setup, and so that's why we're going long. We're into support on the lower time frames. You can see that support where we touch here. We spiked through it with that downward momentum, and that's very typical. But we have a support here, and now we're at that support again. So this is a very good support area. We don't have to close the gap yet. We can come back for it later. And we're looking for that right shoulder so far. All right, on the Elliott wave picture, I labeled this in the yellow as a 1. And now we're going to look for, let's change this to a 2. And so we're looking for a larger impulse wave to where we retrace to that 62%, or maybe just a little bit deeper, that will close the gap. If we don't close the gap, you know, that's where the 62%, that's very possible. But we do have this top here that we possibly make it all the way up to 786 and close that gap and then start heading lower. And that would be our one, our deep, possible zigzag or flat, but most likely a zigzag into a 2. And then we can start talking in other videos, maybe tomorrow, the next day, where our targets will be a little bit lower. And I'll show you how to do that after you have an impulse 1, 2. You usually have your extension into a wave 3. So it should be a nice, large trending move. And then in order for this to not just be a correction, we would look for a 4 and a 5 down. So this would be a 5-wave move. There's other ways this could happen, and we'll definitely keep track. This could be a 1-2, and we set up into another 1-2, and then start heading down lower, depending on what's happening, what kind of catalysts are, and things like that. But it looks like we're getting on a nice move here so far. So let's check out the Qs. And with the Qs, we're sort of getting that that extended neckline. Let me put it on the 65-minute. All right, so we broke down from this wedge, an impulse move down. We're technically just back testing the wedge, and that's with the SPY as well. So we're looking for a retracement, probably into this gap area. Let's see if we. I'm not sure if I put on the retracement. Yes, we did put on the retracement zone. So just getting to the gap is about that 50% retracement. And then inside the gap is the 62%. And closing that gap, that would be a nice deep retracement. Anything's possible, especially if if a lot of the big tech, Apple, NVDA, Tesla, if they're all bouncing, then there's a good chance that we have a nice deep retracement to this 409 as well. So we'll be looking out to this, but we'll definitely be scaling into our shorts again, somewhere around that 50 to 62% retracement, depending on what kind of structure we see as this develops. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the VIX. And then we'll check out NVIDIA, Apple, and Tesla, where we're long on each of those names. All right, so we had a bullish falling wedge here, broke out of it. And I talked about yesterday that consolidation zone, sort of make it a triangle here. We didn't move that downtrend line yet. Made a peak here, corrected, and we're kind of consolidating. Looked like we're going to break out. Looked like this was going to break out and keep moving, but actually just got denied off the top of that downtrend as well. So it looks like we want to close the gap here, and possibly if there's let's say a zigzag in the market, possibly we go down to close this gap, get a bounce, which would give us a correction in the market, and then maybe even go to close this gap down below, and that would bring price action up. So we'll just kind of trace this. 13 is a good area. We have 14 that we're being rejected from. 13 is a good support zone. So as price action from the VIX gets down here, maybe the market is going up. And if you get a bounce in the VIX, then we get a little correction in the market. And like I said, you get continuation, and then we should get some continuation up into higher retracement zones in the market. All right. Hope that's not too confusing there. What else can I show you? Let's go to Apple. Okay, with Apple, at the downgrade, we had this bearish rising wedge, broke down from it, back tested, and from what this appears to be is a leading diagonal, or possibly even an A, B, C retracement. So, until further information is put out there, we did start to get some reversal conditions here. And so that's why we went long here on Apple. We started getting the bullish divergence on the RSI. We're curling up on the MACD, and we got some bullish divergence and a crossover on the slow stow. So that's a nice buy signal here on Apple. And we don't expect it too far of a retracement, possibly going back to test one of these downtrend lines here. I can draw another one from this point. And if we start breaking out from these trend lines, and I think something else is really starting to happen, that we're trying to make new highs in the market and on Apple. But really, we're just looking for a retracement, possibly even to fill this gap here of where we started the week. I closed the downgrade gap. We don't have to. If I'm looking at this as a 3-wave move, I'll have to dig into this a little bit more. This is possibly, I can't quite get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that could be a 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for wave 3 and then extension into wave 5. So this could just be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just like the market. And we're looking to retrace this entire move before heading lower. NVIDIA also getting a little extended, but into support. So we have this huge support area where we had a high here. We had highs. Got above it for a little bit and then broke down. Again, resistance, support, resistance. So we broke out in this time frame. We broke out from here, back tested, and now we're back testing again. So that was a good spot for us to take a long trade on just for possibly a day. We're in the money right now, so we might take this off depending on what happens with we still have puts on. I don't know if I mentioned that. We still have puts on, and so we're still protected, but we'll see if we can get a higher bounce here. We do have a gap here that we could possibly fill. Let's see if we put our retracements on this one. So looking again to get this pretty good retracement, possibly to the 786 to close the gap. If we close the gap in the market, possibly we close this gap in NVIDIA as well. But notice that, this sort of broke out here, back tested, and didn't quite make a new high. But this does appear to have an A, B, C correction here. So that was an even better reason why I took the long there. We do think the bulls are going to try to say that this is a continuation move. And if it is, then we're going to get a slight new high here. And we're going to have to check out our count to see how that fits in. But this range has held really, really well for quite some time. So I don't expect much of a breakout from this point unless we're going for a fake break. Now, this could be some sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 3 didn't exceed there. So I'm not really sure what kind of count that is. I do think the top might be in. We triple top here. So let's see what's going on. See if we make a new high, perhaps. All right. I'm not going to hold it that long, so don't get me wrong. I'm just looking for a retracement. I'm not looking for new highs. So let's just see what happens with that price action. It looks like this could be considered a cup and handle. So you have this cup here, and then the handle, and this would be a measured move from the top here around 505 all the way down here to 551. Just like the head and shoulders where we have the neckline here, that would be the breakout point. So we would put our breakout point from there and then measure the move, how far it goes up. I'm not going to do that right now, but that's just something to check out. If you are a bull and you want to hold on, or if price shows that it's going to go a little bit higher. And so kind of the same thing on Tesla in a way where we had this flag. You see all this downtrend line here. We broke out from it, made a move, and now we're back testing. Yes, it's volatile, so we did get underneath it, but we're back testing, and you notice we're into this all this trading zone here. So we're getting support off that, and that's also with the options expected move. And so what we could kind of look for here as well, if you're a bull, you're looking for an extension and a breakout, okay? But if you're a bear like I am, you're looking for the head and shoulders. So it should mimic something like this. We got down to the neckline. It could go a little bit further, seeing how the price action is underneath that line. Maybe we go down a little bit further and then start heading over, and that would give us our neckline down here. But you know, Tesla trades pretty erratic, so things can be a little bit more awkward when you're looking at formations. And so we're right in this chop zone here. You could call this a bow and arrow support as well. And we're bouncing off. If we get a little bit higher, then we'd be looking for a lower high. And we can count 5 waves into here. So that would be a good point. I know that you can argue that that's like a B wave right here, where we have a 5, 3, 5 possibly, and we go higher. But you know, we can also count this as an impulse wave, and we'll be looking for a lower high if the market is looking for a lower high, and expect probably around that 550. I didn't really put a retracement here. Let's see. If you use your retracement tool from the top, and if this is considered the low, then you want to put the right there at the low, and then we should retrace somewhere back to either this consolidation zone, and that's at a 50% retracement. Especially momentum is heading down for Tesla. Maybe we don't get so deep of a retracement. The 50% looks really good there where we get that. But if it wants to go higher, we have that 62%, and even all the way up here for the 786. Okay, so you'll be looking for those retracements. I will not hold that long. I'm looking for around that 250 area would be a nice target for this. And even the 382 would be a good time to get a lower high, like an A. You see that 50% right here? That coincides with that 382 I put back on. So that could be an easy A, some sort of B, and a C correction. Okay, so this would be a good zone to take some profit. I'll be doing that. That's also coinciding with this gap here. And why take the chance, you know, to hold on to it? Nothing goes in a straight line. We should be looking for a 3-wave correction in the market, and Tesla and NVIDIA, Apple, all those. So that's what we're looking for. I don't really have anything else to show right now. You can look at the other videos if you want to see the bigger time frame. I was showing the large time frame correction that I'm looking for in NASDAQ in yesterday's video. We're looking for a massive zigzag into a wave 2 before we get into a beautiful long-term bull market. And then the video before that, the last 5 minutes, the audio is not there, but that's not important. The first 15 minutes, I believe, or 20 minutes, the audio is there, and it shows you the big scheme of things for the SPX. Okay, so that's all I got for you. Thanks for joining us here at Options Center. Have a wonderful day. We will talk to you tomorrow.